When Mike Johnson became Speaker of the House in October of 2023, even Senator Susan Collins admitted she needed to Google him. But for folks in Louisiana's 4th District, Shreveport, Bossier City, Minden, and the surrounding communities, this was their guy. This was their congressman stepping into one of the most powerful positions in American government. Has he used that power to serve you or someone else? First critical thinking question. When you think about your representative in Congress, what should their primary job be? Representing their district's interests or supporting the party leader? And if those two things conflict, which should come first? Johnson is the architect of insurrection. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution establishes the Electoral College and the peaceful transfer of power. The 12th Amendment clarifies the counting process. These aren't suggestions. They are the bedrock of our republic. Where's the evidence? So glad you asked. Johnson led the amicus brief. If you don't know what an amicus brief is, it's a document submitted by an outside party as friend of the court to provide additional information, expertise, or arguments to assist a court case in which they themselves are not directly involved. Johnson led the amicus brief signed by more than 100 House Republicans supporting a Texas lawsuit seeking to invalidate the 2020 election results in 4 swing states. Biden won. These were Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The New York Times found that Johnson gave his Republican colleagues a path to objecting certification based on how some state officials loosened restrictions on voting because of the pandemic. In an interview on a Shreveport radio station, Johnson repeated a debunked claim about an international conspiracy to hack voting machines, saying the software system, quote, came from Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, unquote. Chavez died in 2013. On the morning of January 6, 2021, Johnson tweeted, quote, "We must, in all caps, fight for election integrity, the Constitution, and the preservation of our republic!" Exclamation point. "It will be my honor to help lead that fight in Congress today," unquote. That night, just hours after Trump supporters stormed the Capitol, Johnson led the battle cry as he and 146 other congressional Republicans refused to certify Biden's win. Let's break for some critical thinking questions. If election results can be challenged and overturned based on one party's preference, what happens to your vote? What's stopping future politicians from refusing to certify elections when Louisiana votes don't go their way? Johnson claimed he was defending the Constitution by trying to overturn the election. But the Constitution is pretty clear about how these elections work and peaceful transfer of power. Can you defend the Constitution by ignoring what it says? Here's a harder one. If there really was massive fraud in 2020, why did over 60 courts, including judges appointed by Trump, throw out these cases? Were all those judges part of a conspiracy? Or is it more likely the evidence just wasn't there? Johnson seems to be protecting power over transparency. particularly when it comes to the Epstein files. Transparency and accountability are core constitutional principles that require government to operate openly and be responsible to the public, to us, to we the people. Transparency involves making government actions, data, decision-making processes accessible and available to the public, while accountability means officials must justify their actions and face consequences for misconduct or mismanagement. Together, they're supposed to build public trust and enable citizens to participate in and influence government. We are a government for the people, by the people. However, in July 2025, Johnson sent the House of Representatives on an early vacation to avoid votes on motions related to the Democratic efforts to compel Congress to approve the release of the Epstein files. Johnson adjourned the House and refused to seat Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva of Arizona, blaming the government shutdown. Despite the fact the Senate was still open and holding votes, Grijalva had pledged to be the deciding vote on a discharge petition to release the Epstein files. Johnson had long sought the delay of the process, according to 3 sources. The decision marked a shift in strategy for Johnson and the White House. Johnson told reporters his belief was, quote, "We need the administration to have space to do what it was doing," unquote, refusing to commit to a vote before the August recess. There was a vote in November to release the Epstein files. It passed unanimously, 427 to 1 vote against. And still, we have not seen the files. Oh, the one vote against transparency is one of yours, Louisiana. Clay Higgins from District 3. So if you're from St. Martin, Iberia, St. Mary, Terrebonne, Lafourche, any among others, he'll be in a later video, I'm sure. Let's take a break for some critical thinking. So, Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex trafficker who had connections to powerful people across the political spectrum, Democrats and Republicans. If you have nothing to hide, why would you shut down the entire House of Representatives rather than let those files see daylight? Johnson said the administration needed, quote, "space to do what it is doing," unquote. But isn't Congress supposed to provide oversight of the administration, not protection? When did giving the president space become more important than transparency? Put yourself in the shoes of Epstein's victims. How would you feel knowing that the Speaker of the House literally shut down Congress to prevent accountability? Does that sound like biblical values to you? And here's the question that should keep you up at night. What's in those files that's so damaging that it's worth breaking congressional norms to keep them secret? Let's talk about the 54-day shutdown, choosing politics over people. Johnson had a constitutional duty. Congress had a constitutional duty. Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the power of the purse, the responsibility to fund the government and serve the people. But here's the reality. Johnson sent members home after they voted on a continuing resolution in mid-September, and the House didn't vote again for 54 days. Johnson remained resolute in his decision to halt all House business, insisting he would not bring lawmakers back into session until the Senate passed the House's proposal. The shutdown left millions of American families going hungry, millions of travelers stranded in airports, and troops wondering if they would receive their next paycheck. But how did this affect Louisiana? Congressperson Julia Letlow noted that the shutdown put Louisiana families reliant on food assistance at risk and caused flood insurance policies to lapse during hurricane season. According to congressional records, over 20% of Mike Johnson's district alone is reliant on SNAP. Federal employees in Louisiana at Barksdale Air Force Base, Fort Johnson, the VA hospitals went without paychecks while Johnson played political games. The hypocrisy? During a Louisiana visit, Johnson claimed, quote, "If they shut it down, it's going to be on the Democrats," unquote, despite being the one who sent the House home and refused to convene. Now, let's point some things out here. Congress has its own monster list of rules. The one that applies the best here, specifically, Congressional Rule Number 1, Clause 12A, gives the Speaker of the House exclusive authority to declare a recess if there are no pending questions. Rule 1, Section 13 says the Speaker can only dismiss the Congress for longer than 3 days for district work sessions. This was a vacation, and no work was done or required. The U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 5, Clause 4. This clause requires that neither the House or the Senate can adjourn for more than 3 days without consent of the other. Concurrent resolution. Adjournments longer than 3 days require a concurrent resolution, which is a formal agreement between the House and the Senate. Let's break for some critical thinking questions. Imagine you work at Barksdale Air Force Base or the VA hospital in Shreveport. You're serving your country, but your paycheck doesn't come because the Speaker won't call Congress back to work. How is that supporting the troops? Johnson sent the House home and refused to bring him back for 54 days. Then he blamed the Democrats for the shutdown. How can Democrats be responsible for a shutdown when they literally can't vote because Johnson won't let the House meet? Let's talk about the real cost. Families couldn't buy groceries. Flood insurance policies lapsed during hurricane season in Louisiana. TSA agents worked without pay. Was any political point worth that human cost? Here's what I want you to think about. Johnson represents one of the most Republican districts in America. He didn't need to compromise to win re-election. So who was this shutdown really for? His constituents? Or someone else? Ask yourself this. What would you think of a manager at your job who sent everyone home, locked the doors for almost 2 months, and then blamed the workers for nothing getting done? Johnson has spent his entire career manufacturing division. Those culture wars that don't exist. Johnson has created a pattern. He has built his career on stoking fear about threats that don't exist. Remember that war on Christmas? During his time with Alliance Defending Freedom, Johnson promoted the fallacious war on Christmas narrative. As senior legal counsel for Alliance Defending Freedom, Johnson said, quote, "It's a sad day in America when you have to retain a lawyer to wish someone a Merry Christmas," unquote. Reality check. No one was stopping anyone from celebrating Christmas. This was manufactured outrage designed to make Christians feel persecuted in a country where they are the overwhelming majority. I don't know about the rest of you, but up north, where I'm from, Christmas starts in August. These are his own words on division. In 2016, Johnson described himself as being, quote, "called to legal ministry, and I've been out on the front lines of the culture war defending religious freedom, the sanctity of human life, and biblical values," unquote. After the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage, Johnson told a Baptist congregation, quote, "You are what's left of Christianity in America. If we lose those next critical battles, it's over. There's no hope for religious freedom," unquote. Probably a good time for some critical thinking questions, huh? Think about your own life. Has anyone actually stopped you from saying, "Merry Christmas"? Have you ever needed a lawyer to celebrate your faith? Or is this a solution looking for a problem? Johnson said that legal gay marriage means there's no hope for religious freedom. But you can still go to church every Sunday, right? You can still pray, read your Bible, raise your kids with your values. How exactly did your religious freedom disappear? Here's a tough one. When a politician tells you that your neighbors, gay Americans, Muslim Americans, Americans who celebrate Hanukkah instead of Christmas, are threats to your way of life, what is that politician trying to accomplish? Are they bringing people together or tearing them apart? And let's be really honest. While Johnson is fighting imaginary wars on Christmas, what's he doing about real problems in Louisiana? What's he doing about infrastructure, about healthcare costs, about good paying jobs? Could it be that culture war stuff is a distraction from the fact that he's not delivering real results? Ask yourself, would Jesus Christ, who preached love, compassion, and welcoming the stranger, recognize himself in this culture war rhetoric? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing, blessed are the shit stirrers, for they shall be elevated into powerful positions. Now, I read King James, but let me know in the comments if other versions have the other one. Let's talk about his record of inaction. Johnson's legislative effectiveness. Johnson got bipartisan co-sponsors on the fewest bills compared to Louisiana's delegation in 2024. Louisiana's 4th congressional district has a Cook partisan voting index rating of R plus 26, making it the most Republican district in Louisiana. Yet, Johnson governs as if compromise is surrender. Johnson was sworn into office on January 3rd, 2017, and has been serving since then. That's 8 years. Here's some questions to think about. In 8 years representing you in Congress, can you name 3 specific things Mike Johnson has accomplished for Shreveport, for Bossier City, for your community? Not national headlines, actual delivered results for the 4th District. Johnson gets the fewest bipartisan co-sponsors in Louisiana's entire congressional delegation. That means he's the worst at working with others to get things done. Is that the kind of leadership you want? Someone who can't or won't work with anyone outside his party. He represents the most Republican district in Louisiana. He doesn't need to worry about losing to a Democrat. So why can't he take positions that actually help his constituents, even if they don't perfectly align with party leadership? Here's the real question. Is Mike Johnson working for you, or are you just a vote he counts on while he pursues his own national ambitions? Isn't it time for real representation? Here's the bottom line. Mike Johnson has shown Louisiana's 4th District that when there's a choice between serving his constituents and serving Donald Trump, Trump wins every time. Johnson, 1, tried to overturn a legitimate election. 2, shut down the House to protect Trump from Epstein transparency. 3, let families go hungry during the longest government shutdown in history. 4, manufactures cultural divisions to distract from his failure to deliver for Louisiana. And disregarded a constitutional standard. Representatives take an oath to, quote, support and defend the Constitution of the United States, unquote. Not to support one man, not to serve one party's interests. The Constitution. Final questions for critical thinking. If you had an employee who spent more time helping their friend than doing their actual job, how long would you keep them employed? The Constitution starts with 3 words. We the people. Not we the party, not we the president. We the people. When your representative prioritizes party loyalty over constituent service, are they honoring that Constitution? Here's the most important question. What kind of representative do you want? Someone who manufactures outrage and makes national headlines, or someone who shows up, does the work, and delivers for your community? And finally, if you wouldn't accept this level of service from your doctor, your mechanic, or your pastor, why would you accept it from your congressman? Louisiana's 4th District deserves a representative who shows up, who does the work, who puts people over politics. 8 years is enough time to prove what kind of leader you are. Mike Johnson has shown you who he is. The question is, will you believe him? It's time for new leadership that actually leads. In case Google doesn't give you a straight answer, I had a difficult time not getting curated propaganda. Mike Johnson is up for re-election in 2026. Now is the time to support a candidate who will show up for District 4. Merry Christmas, Shreveport, Bossier City, and the rest of Louisiana. Wouldn't it be a great gift to yourselves to elect a new representative? One who actually worked for you, so you can afford food and holidays. The people of Louisiana deserve better, so they can laisser le bon temps rouler. For Ethos Trek, I'm Seraphim. I'll be back in a few days. If you like this content, please poke that thumbs up button. Consider subscribing. Subscribing is free. It doesn't cost you a thing. If there is someone you think would enjoy this content, please share. If you would like either the Policy versus Politics checklist or the action booklet from the 31 pages video, please drop me an email. The address is in the channel description box. If you're watching this on YouTube, these are relevant videos the algorithm thought you might enjoy. Thank you for listening.